Call the November 15th meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals for Knox County to order. Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Mr. Repass?
Here.
Mr. Lloyd?
Here.
Mr. Anderson? Mr. Elliott?
Here.
Ms. Garrett?
Here.
Ms. Longmire?
Here.
Mr. Huff?
Here. If we could have the Pledge of Allegiance, Mr. Lloyd.
Please repeat after me.
Okay, as I stated earlier, this is the Board of Zoning Appeals for Knox County, Tennessee. The members that we just met are volunteers from each commission district. We do not receive compensation for the work on this board or the training that we attend. As a quasi-judicial body, we avoid ex parte conversations and conduct our business in accordance with the Open Meetings Act. My name's Paul Huff. I'm the chairman of the board, and to my right is Mr. Curtis Brown, co-chairman. And to his right is Myers Morton from the county law office. Do we have any additional guests from codes? Steve, if you would.
Yes, today from Codes, we have myself, Steve Elliott, Kelly Vaughn, and Kim Jarnigan.
Thank you. The voting procedure for voting on appeals to the Board of Zoning Appeals is that we must obtain a positive vote from a majority of the presence member in the meeting. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes from last meeting?
Move to approve the minutes from the last meeting. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. Motion carries. So here we have a number of requests for variances, and if you could read them off for me, I would appreciate it.
Request 4A is a request for Jason Martin for waiver of front yard setback from 40 feet to 30 feet. The property is located at 8339 Shade Weaver Road, CLT map 027, parcel ID 24501. Property is zoned agricultural in the 7th Commission District.
Mr. Chairman, that needs to be changed to 25 feet rather than.
Yes, it does. There is a change, and I must make a administrative pause here. I forgot to read into the record a number of things that I'm required to. The Knox County Board of Zoning Appeals is authorized to grant variances and hear other matters by the Tennessee Code and Knox County Zoning Ordinance. Specifically, these laws prescribe parameters required to grant a variance. The burden of proving the grounds for a variance request rests on the applicant. For each matter, the clerk will read the request into the record. I will then ask the applicant is present and then ask if there are opposition or other speakers who wish to present. You do not have to come forward at this time. Once we determine the speakers for the item, we will call on government agencies such as Knox County Codes, Metropolitan Planning Commission, or engineering to make statements regarding the facts pertinent to the property and the background of the request. Board members may ask questions of the governmental agencies once they have made their statements. Then I will call the applicant to come forward, state their name and the address for the record, and present their evidence and reasoning supporting the granting of the variance. If there is no opposition, applicants have 10 minutes to present their case. If there is opposition, the applicant and opposition each have up to 15 minutes. After the applicant's presentation, board members may ask questions of the applicant. Then we will call for opposition or other parties who have up to 15 minutes to speak. This 15 minutes applies to all parties. So if there are multiple parties who wish to speak, please figure out how you're going to divide your time beforehand. After the opponents speak, the board members may ask questions of the opponents. Finally, there will be a discussion by the board during which members may ask further questions of parties that have already testified. The board may make any determinations it seems necessary. Our bylaws allow an applicant at the initial hearing on the matter to request a deferral of 30 or 60 days without prejudice. In the event of a deferral of an application failure to appear, any opposition may be heard on the record at a meeting where the application they oppose appears on the agenda. If you would read item 4A again, just so we know.
Mr. Chairman,
Sorry? Yes.
we probably should all be sworn in
yes,
before we
yes.
proceed. Sorry.
Mr. Myers, can you swear in anyone who wishes to speak? Please stand and be sworn in.
Anybody that's gonna be testifying before needs to be, raise your right hand. Do each of you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth so help you God?
Are there any agenda changes that we haven't spoken of?
Yes, Chairman. There will be a change to item 4A. The applicant is now requesting a front yard setback reduction from 40 feet to 25 feet. And Codes is requesting on item 4B, the side yard setback from 12. The applicant's requesting 12 to 8 foot 8 inches. We feel as though that's too close and too specific, so we would like to change that to 12 feet to 8 feet.
Okay. Any other changes?
No, sir.
Okay, now. Yes, now you can read that
4A is a request of Jason Martin for waiver of front yard setback from 40 feet to 25 feet. The property is located at 8339 Shade Weaver Road, CLT map 027, parcel ID 24501. Property is zoned agricultural in the 7th Commission District.
in. Is the applicant present? Please come to the microphone. State your name and address for the record, please.
Turn it on, yeah.
Jason Martin, 8339 Shade Weaver, Knoxville, Tennessee, 37938.
Can you give us reasons why you believe you are entitled to an agenda and the reasons why we should grant that revision?
Yeah, I was actually in y'all's meeting, and you guys hit you guys were exactly right on the back half of the property. It is steep, and there are several unmarked graveyards. So I've heard from previous owners that there's 3 to 5. I don't know where they're at. I only know where they possibly are. So between the steepness and the graveyards, I think it's inaccessible for me to build back there. But furthermore, on the front part where I marked, there were 2 houses previously, 2 single like a single wide trailers, and there are also already 2 septic tanks already put in on the property there. So that part of the property already has 2 septic tanks, already has water, already has electricity, and it was flattened. And so the benefit to using that front half of the property versus the back side of the property, there's no comparison.
So do you consider this site to be an irregularly shaped lot?
Yes, sir.
You mentioned it has graveyards, unmarked graves, I assume?
Yeah, one of the family members took me up there, and he knows that there's where one section he thinks is, because there's 2 holly bushes that were buried there, or that are planted, and you can clearly see 3, like, sunken in areas. But then another family member says there's 2 children up there, and they don't know where they're at. So I kind of know where the one is. I don't know where the other 2 are.
So, one of the criteria for eligibility for a variance is an exceptional physical feature. Mr. Law Director, how would a grave site fit into that?
Knox County ordinances, 6.60.04A, standards for variances. In granting a variance, the board shall ascertain the following criteria are met. And under paragraph 1, variances shall be granted only where special circumstances or conditions such as, and it goes on saying exceptional narrowness, topography, and siting. I would suggest that this, the standard of variance, some grave sites would be those special circumstances or conditions that this board can consider. Also, under Tennessee Code 137109, powers of the Board of Appeals, refers to the same exceptional undue hardship. So it's the law director's advice that those plots, grave plots, would be those exceptional circumstances or conditions that this board can consider in deciding to do a variance for that.
Very good, thank you. At this point, I need to pause the proceedings. We have some administrative work that must be done. No, please. I would never, yes, absolutely, never keep a man in a black robe unnecessarily. Very well. Does the applicant have any additional information to share with us at this time?
No, only that between, like, well, actually on that piece, you can actually see the 2 houses on that picture that's up there right now. And directly behind that, slightly back to the left a little more, right in there is a drainage field also. So between the drainage field, the steepness, the grave sites, water already being there, the septic tanks already being there, the flat land that's already there, it just seemed like that's the only spot I could possibly use. That's it.
Very well. Is that all you have to share?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Is there any opposition to this application? Does the board have any discussions they'd like to add?
Are you building a garage with an apartment attached, or are you planning on building a home?
I'm actually going to be building it's a barnuminium. So that's the side of it will be for storage for myself. I own several businesses, so I need covered storage. The other half is going to be for my father, who's 79, not doing too well. So the flatter area, less of a track up the hill and all that, would be beneficial for him as well. But it's going to be a barnuminium, 150 by 50.
You said you were building this for storage for you and company. Are you gonna have company vehicles up there, a lot of in and out of traffic?
No, it's primarily, so I was at physical therapy clinics.
Okay.
I also own Shoreline Docks, where I build docks and marinas, and I have a work boat. It's on a pontoon boat, and I like to store it. I also have a Corvette. I also have a 29 Ford that my father redone, so I want that to be in storage. I have my personal work truck that I want to store in there. So it's more, I have a Bryant boat that's my boat, personal boat. So it's more personal, but on the same time, a couple like of my things that I use for my, like Shoreline Docks would be in there. Some of my tools, I'm gonna have a workbench in there for my tools to be stored, right? Instead of out in my garage at my current house, which would make my wife a lot happier. So, but it won't be any more traffic going in and out of there because it's me that does it, so.
Steve, your light's on. Do you have anything to add to that?
I would just like to add for the record that he can store materials there for his business, but he can't run a commercial business out of there. So I want to make sure we're clear that you can't have employees coming there, you can't have customers coming there, that it would have to just be truly indoor storage.
Correct. Shoreline Docks, we do all our work, like I would come to your house to do the work. There's nothing done on my property.
That was my question.
Yeah, I don't do any work. I don't even build frames. I order frames and get them shipped directly to a launch ramp or an area nearby or the people's house. And then I go there, assemble, install and float, and then bring my tools back. I don't do any work there. It's just strictly storage.
So based on what Steve said and what the applicant has said, is it safe to say that the proposed use is not excluded by the zoning?
That's correct. It wouldn't be excluded.
Thank you.
I'd like to go ahead and make a motion.
Chair recognizes Ms. Garrett.
I'll make a motion that we approve the variance for the front yard setback from 40 feet to 25 feet due to the very steep topography and the unknown grave sites, as well as the drain field.
Second.
Second by Ms. Longmire. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition say no. Motion carries.
Thank you all.
Moving on to item B.
4B is a request of Jerome Johnson with Seed, Inc. for waiver of side yard setback from 12 feet to 8 feet and waiver of front yard setback from 35 feet to 15 feet. The property is located at 4306 Candora Road, CLT map 122, group DD, parcel ID 009. Property is zoned RA, and this is in the 9th Commission District.
Is the applicant present? Please state your name and address, please, for the record.
Stan Johnson, 1617 Dandridge Avenue, Knoxville, Tennessee, 37915.
Can you give us the reasons why you believe this is eligible for a variance and the reasons why we should grant it?
Well, the biggest thing is how steep the topography is. We want to make sure that we could park in the back as well. So we just need a little bit of room.
Is that is that the limit of your eligibility criteria, steepness and the narrowness of the lot?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Let me get my architect up here, too.
Can you
Don
state your name?
Don Horton, 2100 Fairmont Boulevard. Yes, that is the steepness of the site and the narrowness of the site it's only 50-foot wide lot. So fitting the house on there, and in addition, this is going to be an energy-efficient solar house, and getting the orientation for the solar panels on the house means that we have to be looking to the south. So that dictates the orientation of the structure, and getting it in there, and then enough driveway area to get past the house on the steepness of the site, and grading out for that requires more space than the 12-foot set. The 12-foot with 50 feet, our house is 22 feet wide. We have very little room to get a driveway and accommodate the slopes of getting that driveway to the rear.
I drive by this property every time I go to the doctor's office over to the hospital, so I'm quite familiar with the area, and it is a very narrow lot. And I applaud you for the drawings that you gave. It clearly shows how, if you maintain all the setbacks, there's not much property left. So, is there any opposition to this? No. Any comments from the board? Questions? Certainly.
I'd like to make a motion. My motion is that we approve the waiver of a side yard setback 12 feet, from 12 feet to 8 feet, not the 8 inches, but 8 feet, on the west side of the property, and the waiver of the front yard setback from 35 feet to 15 feet to align it with the other homes on the street. It is a lot of record, so it is extremely narrow. The roadway is extremely busy, and this would be a safety feature added to that.
I second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye, please.
Aye.
Any opposition, say no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
On to 4C.
4C is a request of Danny Simmers for waiver of side yard setback from 10 feet to 8 feet. The property is located at 8600 Hill Road, CLT map 19, parcel ID 015. Property is zoned agricultural in the 8th Commission District.
Pardon me. Is the applicant present? You are the applicant. If you could state your name and address for the record, please.
Danny Simmers, 6301 Brackett Road, Knoxville, Tennessee.
If you could give us the reasons you believe that this is eligible for variance and the reasons why we should grant it.
It's an existing garage that I'm converting into living space, and it's currently 8 feet from the property line. Or, yes, 8 feet, and the setback is 10 feet.
I got a question for codes. Is this building, as it's currently being used, is it conforming with the setback requirements?
It is. For an accessory structure, it would only be 8 feet.
So the only issue now is the proposed use would cause it to be non-conforming. Is that correct?
That's correct. The side setback for a dwelling is 10 feet.
Whose district is this, Ms. Longmire?
Okay, I am very familiar with Hill Road. It is an aptly named road. There are quite a few hills around there. The topography of the property is quite steep, and since the existing garage has existed for quite a while, 8 feet from the property line, there would be no problem for the neighbors. There's been no complaints about any problem. It would simply add to the owner's use of his property as it stands. So I would like to make a motion to approve the waiver of the side yard setback from 10 feet to 8 feet because the building already exists, because the topography is steep. There have been no complaints from the neighbors, and it allows the owner the most beneficial use of his property.
Second.
Yeah, I need to, I'm not sure what the right word is, but I need to delay voting to see if there's any opposition. No
We s-
opposition.
We spoke with the neighbor, and he was fine with it, because it just really abuts his driveway.
Mr. Chair, I did check, and as I said in my motion, there's been no.
I just needed it on the record. Very well. A motion has been made by Ms. Longmire. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Garrett. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? No. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Last item of business on the agenda is a brief discussion about the meeting dates in October, November, December, and January. The people who support this board from an administrative level, codes, planning, and engineering, they struggle at the end of the year to get everything together because of the holidays and a variety of other reasons. So we need to consider moving some of the dates in October, November, December, and January. However, the dates that have been proposed might require, will require some input from the law director. Steve, if you could just kind of briefly give us your thoughts on the dates.
Yes, what happens in these meetings is in the meeting in October, due to Thanksgiving holidays or Christmas holidays, we end up having only 3 weeks between the October meeting and the November meeting, which is a very tight timeline for us to get all the applications in, get the agendas out, which I think a few of you seen here, you didn't receive your agendas because of the tight timeline on it. So what we were proposing would be to move the October meeting back a week, eliminate the November meeting, and then move the December meeting back 2 weeks, which would give us 6 weeks between the October and December meeting, and then 6 weeks between the December and January meeting, and get us back on the schedule. One of the things we need to consider, and I'll talk to Mr. Moyers about this before the next meeting, or Myers here, is the ordinance does state we got to have a monthly meeting. The October meeting would be on the 30th of October, so it would be in the same week as the month of November begins. I don't know how that would be interpreted by the law director, so we probably need to have a little discussion with the law director and then maybe vote on that next month.
Okay. The chair will entertain a motion to defer this, any further action on this until we've gotten feedback from the law director and/or commission.
I would like to make a motion that we defer this item until next month.
I second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any opposition? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Any other business to come before the BZA today? I declare the meeting adjourned.